Hello, 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 and welcome in. It's April 1st. It's April Fool's, and I think the jokes are on me today. We welcome you in. It is HR Lunch Bunch. If it's the first Wednesday of the month and it's noon, it's HR Lunch Bunch. I am Deborah Jeffries, and welcome into everybody who is here. We've got a group of people, a lively group of people here for our session today. And we're kind of talking about HR's role versus maybe quote unquote leadership's role. And when I say leadership, I mean like management, supervisors, our leaders within the organization, kind of where all that kind of starts, where support ends, and empowerment kind of begins. And I've welcomed everybody in, but I will do that kind of officially again for all of you who are watching on demand, because I think that there will be some folks. We always post this to our YouTube page so people can watch later. So if this is your first time with us, we're glad that you're here. As I advance the slides, she says, hopefully. If you don't know me, I serve as the vice president of the company. I've been here for decades. This is one of our pet projects. Maybe it's my pet project, but I like to be able to network with people. I like to be able to educate people. I like to bring people together. I like people to share ideas and information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we pick a topic, we chat. It really is intended to be chat. It's intended to be networking. It's intended to learn from each other. So, because we've been having a little bit of technology challenges, you will see that it says the chat box is open. Yes, it's open, but I can't see it. Only you can see it. So, you do have to unmute yourself this time around so that I can hear you and know that you've got something to say and share in that regards. But before I even ask this question, I wanted to find out what about today's topic like got you thinking, wanted you to join, what said yes today? So could you share that with me? Because this is something that I have encountered with the work that I've done with HR and with managers and supervisors. And I wrote a newsletter article that HR Answers. We used to have a monthly newsletter years ago. I'm talking like 7 or 8 years ago, and got a lot of people commenting, sending me emails about. And I have created a list that a lot of clients have used to kind of help them. Where's HR begin? And where's supervision? And where do they complement? And where should they be separate? And because I've recently had some conversations, then I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of talk about it at HR Lunch Bunch. And so I don't know if it really was enough of a thing. It just really shows up in a lot of the work that I do, but I didn't know if it would show up for you guys. So that's why I really want to ask the question, is this a thing? So before we ask the question on the screen, when you read the little blurb, was there something in your head that went, yep, got to be there? Or what in the heck is she talking about? What say you?
So, hey, Deborah, it's Stephanie here. I want to say thank you so much for having this topic. I think from time to time, we have to put ourselves in check with what we take on. I think sometimes we do it to be helpful, but I think HR professionals will see situations where they may do something as a favor once and it becomes an assumption for the future. Um, there's an author of the book Radical Humility. His name's Urs Koenig, who speaks to this, but also the second most requested article from Harvard Business Review is called Management Time, Who's Got the Monkey? And it's from the 1970s. And I think this is a big thing that leaders in all roles get as far as, somebody passing you a hot potato or a hot, something that someone else doesn't necessarily want to handle. So, yeah, thank you.
Oh, those are great resources and nice observations. Thank you for that. Someone else.
I think it's kind of true what she just said that, a lot of times we do things as a favor and it becomes the norm. I think, some of this, and it may not be kind of what we go into, but, how you get, I know leaders, HR role versus leadership role, um, how you kind of establish your seat at the table, as well as, not just what we do as HR, what they do as leaders. But the other thing is how to put it back on the leaders to be responsible for what they need to do and not always saying yes and realizing that we can say no and it's their responsibility and how you do that in a gentle but forceful way.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Good. Good, good. Anyone else? Someone else, please. Okay, or maybe not. That's okay. So then let's answer the question that you have on your screen in terms of what has HR been asked to handle that really does belong to a leader? Because I think that the comments that have been made is absolutely true. You you offer to help or someone's struggling with something, you're willing to assist or you're willing to do, quote, one time, or maybe it's the I'm hoping that this is seen as educational, but they really have then abdicated to you in some fashion or another. And let's make no mistake about it. I also think that this really can be a little bit more of like, what's your personality and anybody's personality, and what does that look like? And we definitely could add a dose of what's the culture in the organization? How is HR viewed? Back to the how are our job descriptions lined out? So, what have you been asked to do?
I was actually asked one time to train the new hire in a specific program that had to be done on the assembly floor. Like I don't know how to train this person because I'm not trained, but it was kind of one of those things. I mean, yes, we get asked to help with um, guiding and coaching on, performance issues and, things like that. But to actually train the person, I was just kind of like, yeah, no, that's your responsibility.
Hey, sure, Liz. I don't know that either. Oh, yeah. Hmm. Okay. What other items? Somehow I lost my connection, didn't I? Y'all went away for a minute, came back.
Definitely the April Fool gremlins.
Something's happening. Someone's got my number, don't they? You gotta know something's going on. Just kind of the way it's gonna be, I guess. So, what other things have you been asked to handle? Have you had to have the coaching conversation with an employee that really belongs to a supervisor?
I was just going to bring that up. Sorry. This is
Oh,
Jackie.
good. Tell me more, Jackie.
Yes. And And sometimes I don't mind doing that when it's a new supervisor and I might be coaching them in how to do that. Um, or the supervisor's really overwhelmed and, kind of a thing. Um, it's when they just don't want to have that conversation. And it really is their responsibility. They're the leader. And when I'm doing it instead of them, it's taken away from that, right? Who
Right.
who's the leader here in this situation?
Exactly. Exactly.
They don't want to have those difficult conversations.
Exactly. Well, and in some respects, why don't they want to have the difficult conversation? Um, is it because they don't know how? Um, they they do they not do they not believe in any of our policies or procedures? Right? I mean, they don't think we're there yet, or I mean, I'm guessing they've probably been chatting with you and they're frustrated as heck. It's like, well, then you need to follow through on what you're worried about. So is it that they don't know how, or is it that they don't want to be the heavy? They don't want to be the bad guy? Because then that makes us the bad guy.
I think you said that right there. That exactly is HR already has that bad reputation that they're always delivering bad news. There's a little bit of that. I think it is also okay, well, you will walk you through this the first time. I'll help you, I'll guide you, I'll mentor you. But then if it happens again, oh, well, you did such a great job. Can you just take care of it again?
Right there. Right there. And the answer is no, or yes, and you will lead it and I will be your backseat driver. See, and there's a phrase that I often use that anything you do with like consistency, anything you do with consistency will have consequences, positive or not so good, right? And you're going into it with intention to be helpful, to be educational. The impact that you're having though is I don't have to. They take care of it. They're so good at it. And the answer, no, 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 no. And so that moment of I can help you with the first one because I'm going to coach you, right? I can help with the second one to guide you through and listen and watch you. Third one, you're completely on your own, or I will be in the room, but I'm not saying anything and we'll debrief after that, especially if they're new or promoted from within and they've never done this before, right? You don't want to throw them to the wolves. And let's face it, some of you might even be thinking this. And again, reminder, I can't see you. I want to see an emoji or a hands up, but mm, I can take down the screen and put it back up. But how many of you are like, I don't know what they're going to say. I don't want them to say the wrong thing because then I'm going to have to clean that up. But at the same time, if they never do it, they never will have to do it. And you always will. And I'm guessing most of you don't have just one supervisor that you're working with, right? So this may be a question depending on how large your department is or how many people, how many supervisors you have, is to kind of ask this question. It also might make you think, I kind of gonna go back and readjust, or we need to have a conversation because what really does in your workplace, what belongs to HR and what belongs to supervisors? And does everybody know? Is everybody on the same page? Because I think that there's definitely always going to be support. We want to help them. We want to support them. They come and ask us questions all the time. But there's definitely got to be this element of where does it end? Because if it becomes the default problem solver, you're always the one who does it, right? Or they're always avoiding it, then we've created our own monster, maybe unintentionally, but then, I want to be able to ask you, like, how many of you are coming in early to get some stuff done or staying late to get other things done because you're spending time during the day potentially, and I do mean this with the utmost respect, but you're spending time during the day doing their job. You don't need to do their job. You already have a big enough job and then some, right? And then it actually can have an impact on the culture because of how people are viewing HR or how people are viewing their work. And it's possible you're helping X number of the supervisors. We just start helping others that may or may not want the help. Could we ever be seen as usurping a supervisor's authority because we just assume everybody needs the help or the support? And you guys tell me, does that ever kind of come back to bite you in the backside? Know what silence means. So I think this part of it is what have we designed? What have we created? And maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was your predecessor. Maybe you're new and there was no predecessor, right? Maybe this organization needs a lot of direction. So I kind of think we can be the architecture of this, right? Being able to design the systems, design some processes, build some safeguards. When we're onboarding new employees, let's educate them about where things are. When we're welcoming somebody in as a new supervisor, let's share with them where the responsibilities and the guardrails are in terms of that. How do we build up their skill set, their capacity? Let's take away some of ours because our leaders, managers, supervisors, whatever we're calling everybody, they're the daily responsibility kinds of stuff. They are the daily reminders, setting expectations, coaching employees. Chances are good they're also the ones that are supposed to be delivering, maybe with some guidance, the corrective action. They're supposed to be filling out the forms. Now, that doesn't mean that they might not come to you and maybe role play a little bit. Okay. But I don't think it's your job to be giving out the corrective action. It's not your department, not your set of job description. You're not managing those individuals. Maybe you're in charge of your own department with your own employees, right? So who's the supervisor's manager or manager? Who who are they reporting to? They should be providing assistance. There's that word, should be. Yes or yes or I don't know. You guys tell me. How does it work in your place?
I mean, sometimes, like you were just saying, with the supervisor, telling them to go to their leader and, to get but if they're coming to you complaining about that leader, so you have that separation because they get better response from us as HR, however the case may be. then it's like, well, is it our responsibility at that point then that we go to that next step leader to guide them? And then it just becomes all encompassing again. Then it's like, yes, it is our jobs to help, but it's it goes back to what you said. When do you say no? When do you give a little bit? When do you give, an inch? When do you give a mile? And having to decide the right case.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and there is an element of like teaching people how to manage up. So if your leader isn't giving you what you need, are you letting them know what it is you need? What is it that you've tried? How are you communicating that with them? Right? The coaching that individual, but then it's okay. Have you tried managing up? Do they understand what that can mean? I mean, part of it is what have you already tried? Right? And then is there an opportunity for some kind of education? What is if it's a supervisor who's struggling with the manager, well, can we talk to, I don't know how many layers there are, but is this a leadership challenge coming on down? Because do we not have good role modeling at the very top coming down? And is that something you can see based on patterns of behavior, right? And we can make some recommendations. And how does that look or sound? And maybe Deborah's being too Pollyanny. And that's not really my intention. But my thought process is when I think about what we can talk about is where does your organization blur these roles the most, right? Do you get pulled in too early? Where are you getting pulled in or get involved too late, right? And where is the biggest like tension points for us? Or how are those conversations going? Or give me a case study of what happened and how it worked. What did you do? We're all waiting with bated breath for some answers. I mean, I can give you some thoughts, and yet I'd like to know what's happening or how are you handling it? Because if the answer is we're just doing it, I don't think that's the answer. Not really. It's not going to get you the payoff we all want and need, that where we will all benefit in a sustainable way, right? So, what do you think about these questions? Is there one any of you want to answer? And I did write down the names so I can say Stephanie, Jackie, Nicole, Kim, Ash, Madison. Now, if you've joined late, I might not have wrote down your name.
Were you showing us questions? I don't see your presentation anymore.
Oh, you're not seeing the presentation?
It could just be me though.
No, it's probably just me. I okay, so let's do this. I'm trying. I am hitting share. I'm hitting this screen. Okay, how about what were you seeing? Just like a black screen? Were you seeing people?
Just people.
Just people. Okay, how about now? Is that better?
Yes.
Yes. There you go.
Oh, for crying out loud, this is just going to be one of those days. And would you know, those of you who know me, would you know that I do this for a living? Okay,
You're
here are my
doing
questions.
great.
You're
Exactly.
just
It's
so
April
very
1st.
kind. This is just craziness. Craziness. Okay.
So I think for me, where the biggest problem challenge is when I get involved, when I get brought into it too late, where the supervisors, managers, or whatever are complaining, they either they want to quit, they want to fire someone, whatever. And by then I'm having to clean up the mess of, okay, fill me in, bring me, and you're backpedaling. And so you've wasted all this time. So I think a lot of that is I've pushed back on leaders or I've, given them the guidance that if, bring me in at the beginning. But I guess that goes to the question above that is when do we get pulled in too early? But I don't think there really is a too early. I think that when a situation arises, and let's just go back to a performance issue, and if it's starting early, we need to work with the leaders to guide them so that we're not doing the work, we're mentoring them, we're telling them what they need to do. Here are the steps that you need to do. Let me know, and giving it to them. Whereas if you get it at the end and they come in, they're like, I'm frustrated, either I'm leaving or this person has to leave. Well, then you've lost a lot of time.
Right. Right. I'm there's a part of me that's like, if I had the conversation with the employee, do I come to you and say, hey, I just had a sit down yesterday with the employee and this is what I said and did, and these were my notations. Did I overlook something? Did I miss something? And so, yes, it's after the fact, but it's right as it's kind of happening. It's not in real time, but it's pretty dang close. And so, because I always think I can say to an employee, I've been noodling on our conversation yesterday. So I can always do a follow-up or I can come back. So, a little bit like that. So
Wait, where
check,
do you find where do you find leaders like that?
well, you have to, in some respects, I think you have to make them. I mean, and I don't mean to oversimplify. I really don't. I'm thinking like if you take some of your situations, make them a little bit more generic in the respects of, no names or no departments or whatever. But you say these are five of the scenarios that we've had over the last year, and you take them and turn them into scenarios as part of supervisory training. I mean, do the supervisors get together once a month or once a quarter or something, or that you're asking for this kind of time and you turn them into training opportunities and you walk through what would you have done or how would you handle, or let's role play. I know nobody likes role play, but it is the best way to learn, and being able to say, what would we do and how would we do it? What would come first? When would you bring in HR? How would you kind of thing, to get them, because it's a safe place, nothing's happening yet, but these are five real scenarios that took place in 2025. And I'll be honest, we didn't handle them as well as we could have. Or in three of the five, we did stellar. Two of them, I'll let you decide where and when and which ones we didn't, and see if they can. And depending on the culture, maybe you go to the supervisor and say, this one's going to be an educational moment for everybody. We're going to turn it into that. I just want you to know. You don't have to tell anybody it was you, but I need you to know I'm using it. I don't, but part of this is, what's the expectation? In all sincerity, what's the expectation? Because if we say these belong to me, harassment, discrimination, um, time card falsification, these belong to me, and these things belong to you, then, and we need to communicate. This is the expectation I have. You need to come to me within 24 hours. Have we said these things to our folks so that they know? Do they know what's on your list? Do they know what's on their list? Do the leaders know? Jackie, you had your hand up, I think.
I did, and I was just saying the same thing that the previous person had said. I like to be involved earlier than later. I'd rather have questions earlier where I can start giving guidance, because when it's too late, then I'm doing double the work. I'm cleaning up and, um, you know, yeah. So for me, too late causes more tension because I have to sometimes push back with the supervisor saying, you didn't do these things and they still need to be done. So no, I'm not going to terminate this person. Um, or, well, now we're kind of in a little bit of a legal liability mess that you have created. And so now I need to go back and fix some things here. Or, there's a plethora of things that could happen. So I like to err on too early than not.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think for both you and Kim, one of the things that the two keywords that I heard, and they aren't necessarily keywords for anybody else, is what's your definition of too early or too late, right? So being able to come to me when, how, what does that look like, right? And then making sure that when they do that, and that it's not like, oh, now what? Or not again. I don't have time. It's like, come on in. What have you got for me? I mean, there's got to be that it is a safe place to come and share and ask, right? So, what is that? How are we kind of painting the picture of that? Because I mean, we want specific examples of things that are not going well. Well, they need to know specific if it's too vague, like when's it too late? It's happened 16 times. When I do training, people always like, well, Deborah, when is it moved to corrective action? When does it stop being coaching? When does it move to corrective action? And there is no magic number, but part of it also is what's your policies? I mean, how many tardies equal an absence? What's what is an absence? How many absences are unacceptable to you? I don't know because some organizations have that, right? So when you think about getting pulled in too early or it's too late, what are our policies about certain kinds of things, right? We know in HR, I believe we all know in HR, when people don't act within the scope of their job when it comes to like harassment and discrimination kinds of things, issues, that's when someone can get personally named in a lawsuit because they didn't elevate the concern. Well, too late is 24 hours. You didn't report something to me so that we could respond in a timely manner. All supervisors need to know that. So 24 to 48 hours, that's my cutoff time. That's what I teach when I go do respectful workplace training. So be very specific in the too late kinds of things. So what does that look like in your organization now? Might it change in the future? Maybe. But I think if you were to leave where you work now and some other HR person came in, their guidelines might be different. Yes, the policies might still be the same, but your guidelines or your level of support might be different. So this is part of this is maybe doing again, depending on, are you an HR department of one? Are there multiples? Where are you finding the blurring? Asking each other, or, look in the mirror and have a conversation with yourself. Where's the blurring happening? Right? Ask your leadership team, what are they experiencing in some fashion or another? Because, and depending on what you can see, and especially if we've got multiple things being seen on the screen here, and again, you'll get a copy of the PowerPoint so you can see this. Here's here's my impression of where we can have some challenges. And maybe I can even, I don't know if you can see my little PowerPoint uh, guides here. Get this out of the way. Here's the areas: hiring, onboarding, employee relations, learning and development, policy, appreciation can be our key areas. What's HR's role in these things versus what's our leader's role? So our job may be to design things or advise things or coach things or develop things, but it's not necessarily to deliver on everything or to do the day to day or to address things, right? But to help those folks do them. So when you look at this list and maybe this kind of goes, oh, that's blurry, or nope, we don't do that. That actually sits over here, or we haven't even talked about that. I don't, what, when you look at this, what does it make you think, or does it make you think anything in particular?
I love this list. Thank you. I'm going to be using it. I'm just saying.
Well, and truly, what one of the things that I will do is that, so I created this for our conversation. I also have kind of the list that I created for the newsletter article that I also then kind of updated and did for our blog post that I think was last year. I'll also send that out to you guys, because that's the thing that I give to clients when we end up having a conversation about it. Because then I think you and your managers, supervisors, leaders look at it, and you guys decide what goes on what list. It's not for me to decide or for HR Answers to decide. It really is about what is going on in your organization. Do you think you should all be on the same page about it? Because otherwise, we do things like make assumptions or think they should know that. Well, which they are we referring to? Which group of people? And that's the kind of thing that then I think can cause frustrations and, challenges or whatever. And so this is the kind of thing that it's like, how are we viewing HR? How can you draw some maybe boundary lines or some friendly reminders? Hey, I'm here to help guide the process, but I'm not actually here to deliver that. That actually is your job, being responsible for the people. My responsibility is to help create this structure for everyone in the organization to be successful. But I'm not actually supposed to be having all of those conversations. They don't report to me. Now, if you want to turn them all over to me, then let me tell you how I'd run that department, right? Other observations or questions, or what am I not thinking about that could be on this list based on your experience, based on the work you're doing? For people who are in listen only mode for HR Lunch Bunch and are not watching, they're going, there was a lot of dead air, Deborah. So
I'm listening and watching.
mhm,
Um, I know, you're fine. I don't know. I feel like you covered this very well, and I feel like it's very straightforward, and I really do appreciate this. Like this, just looking at this, I would say, absolutely, this is what I try to communicate, and I don't always do it. And this really gives me some tangible things to say. Hey, here's some things we could talk about, and here's how it should work, and blah blah blah.
well, and maybe just even having something like this, because then other people might go, well, we often talk about this, or you've done this, or you've said something like this, or I'm thinking X and I don't see that on the list. Because sometimes it's just having some place to start, right? There's always that blank screen, right? And it's don't know where to. So I truly do. I hope that it is helpful. I hope that it's like, oh, well, I never even. So by all means, and good. I hope so. Um, but that I think that this is the kind of thing that sometimes, again, back to it slowly morphs over time. The intent is I'm trying to be helpful. I'm trying to be educational, because I think where, the hard lines are is the harassment, retaliation. Now, I'm not saying that HR is safety because many of you have a safety person, director. You've got people in charge of that. But if it comes down to things that are people oriented, safety is a safety risk kinds of things, right? We've got our safety programs. And if it's something that's going to put people in danger or our patients, our customers, our visitors, whatever, we want to make sure that we've got things in place. And if somebody sees something, and let's face it, whatever you may or may not think about our TSA agents, see something, say something. You can't keep quiet about something that's going to put people in danger or not be a safe place to work. And I mean for all people, right? Harassment, retaliation, discrimination. These are not things that make it a okay place to work. Legal risks that could take place, we need to know. Things that go unresolved continuously impact our culture. And that's an everybody responsibility, right? Respect in the workplace, treating people, not being disagreeable. I mean, conflicts will happen. Okay. But being disagreeable? No, we don't have to be like that. And that's an everybody responsibility to having the kind of workplace that we want. So HR can get involved in those things. They can help coach us how to have conversations or what resources we have to address things or that we're elevating so that they can help take the next step on whether it's a who do we call, where do we go, or they're the ones that will take care of the next step. And then maybe the hard lines where, quote, the immediate, I mean, like there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. Yes, I had the first one, but patterns of behavior with that supervisor that you're talking with, right? Or that they request that partnership early. So again, what's our definition of early? So where they can where the lines are, but when we want to step in so that we don't have or we've been burned before or that supervisor, manager, leader has put us in a really bad spot previously. And the last thing we want to do is get where we're stepping in it again. And just based on sure numbers, somebody here has had one of those leaders that just can't seem to nail it, right? But then when we think about our leaders, and you guys tell me, this is just a few of them that I put up here. Isn't this where they should be leading first? And my thought process is this is part of the evolution in some respects of the life cycle of an employee. And what I didn't put on here, and I definitely should have, sitting here reading this in like real time with you, is when we talk about setting expectations and standards, one of the places that I think sometimes supervisors and managers think, oh, well, HR handled that is, and that was on our previous slide around areas, onboarding, or if you call it orientation, I think there's a difference between the two, maybe a topic for another day. Um, but they go, well, HR took care of that. They did the paperwork with them. They did the videos with them. They went through all that stuff. The employee needs onboarding to the department. That has nothing to do with HR. That's your department. What's the job? How do you do the job? To the example earlier, can you help them do the training for the, out here? It was like, no, I don't do that job. I shouldn't be training on a job I don't even do, especially if there's equipments and tools involved. I'm over here doing this stuff. So onboarding to the job, to the department, it isn't, there's a whole lot of people who are involved in that process, right? But if we think about the life cycle of an employee coming in the door, training, development, coaching, um, getting through things, rough spots, performance activities, giving them feedback, getting them back on the path of success through things, those more challenging kind of conversations, working well with each other, goal setting and activities, and then, performance reviews, one-on-one coaching conversations, one-on-one check-in meetings, up to, and how many of your managers and supervisors are part of the goodbye conversation? They may not get to say you're fired, but are they part of that conversation? Do they know how to be part of the conversation? Or is that we turn that over to someone else? Because then they don't, this this might sound terrible, but they don't have to feel uncomfortable saying goodbye to somebody. It's not fun. It's not easy, and they're changing someone's life. We don't want to go into that lightly. So, are they, and you guys tell me, are they part of that? Or is someone else doing it? You guys are still here with me, right? I'm talking to myself, am I?
Go ahead, Deborah.
At least someone made a noise. I know someone's still there.
I'm still here.
So, what else should be on this list where leaders should lead first? From your experience, your encounters, your requests?
I, excuse me, I agree with you about the onboarding. I also agree there's a difference between orientation and onboarding. I feel like orientation's the like initial training, here's the handbook, blah, blah, blah. And the onboarding is the welcome to the team, here's how it works here in this department, kind of, your desk, your tools, your blah, blah, blah. Um, and I feel like that is also the job of the leader. I feel like that's where they should be leading. They should be the person welcoming. I hear it often about how things are great when people are in orientation and then they get out and are with their team, and it's like all that goes away. They're welcomed when they're with the learning and development team, and they're welcomed when they're with the hiring team. But once they get with their actual home team, it's gone. Like that piece is, now they're just a piece of the cog or whatever you want to say.
Right.
And I feel like that is so important when it comes to retention is welcoming people in the beginning and embracing them and having them be part of a team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, talk about a sense of connection or a sense of belonging, right? And there's still there's still reports in articles and whatnot about the fact that people do have a sense of like isolation, even though they're coming to work every day and working side by side with people, that they still feel isolated. And wow, really? So what are we then doing? I mean, as a collective, the entire organization, as a manager supervisor who's responsible for people, as coworkers, I mean, what are we doing to try and, I mean, to the bullet point that's on the screen, team dynamics. I mean, are we a team? Do we support each other? Are we noticing? Are we really listening and paying attention to people? Um, because isolation, that's kind of a strong word for someone who's showing up to work every day doing their work, but they don't feel a sense of connection to anyone or anything at work, or not to the strength that we would want uh, for that to be true. So being able to kind of think about these things, or turn this into a conversation, turn this into a little pulse survey with your leadership team in terms of where do they think that this is applicable to them, right? See what they think, see what they would say. Because when does your helping become enabling? What are the signs or the symptoms? What have you seen? What does that look like for you? Or when does it when are you like, no, I don't want to help you? When does it become begrudging and not you're you're encouraged by the request? No thoughts on that one? And, to your points earlier, when you keep doing it, or they kind of take advantage of what was a one-time something. But I also think there's where's our boundary lines, or what did we set up as the expectation for assistance on the front side, right? Our intention was X. We never verbalized that. We didn't think to verbalize it or to share that with somebody. And so we didn't, nobody talked about it, right? And so then that's just it. We didn't talk about it, so it just became a thing. And that's something, and it's easy to think about it hindsight, right? It's easy for me to say it being an external something. But it happens. It happens in my client work. Doesn't it happen in the family too? I mean, think about this from your family dynamics. Anybody doing something that you keep doing and you were like, I thought I was just helping. I was just going to do it once or twice. I didn't realize that 5 years later I was still going to be doing this. I mean, anyone? So think about, when is helping becoming enabling? Because some language you might be able to use is, what conversations have you already had, right? From with a supervisor to the employee. Let's plan how you'll approach this. I'll support you. You lead it, because then we're clear. You'll lead it, right? And then they're like, wait, wait, wait. What do you mean I'll lead it? This is your conversation. I'll be there to be a safety net, right? So if you did it once, I want to hear you go through it. I'll be there to be a safety net. But this is all you. Would that make sense? Again, how long have they been doing this? And keep in mind, if you've got a long-term manager or supervisor, they probably push back, right? Because they someone's been doing it for them or whatnot for a while. They're gonna be like, "What's changed? Why are you not doing this now? Why do I have to?" So, and I think maybe what boundary has been the hardest for you to hold? What's been the hardest one for you to not let go of? Is there is there a piece of something you really actually like doing in that regards? Is there a harder one than others? I don't know. if that's a possibility or not. Any observations there? I'm going to ask someone to tell me because I can't see and I didn't bring my, because again, I told you I just sat down, truly just sat down. Someone give me a time check because without my monitors working the way I like them to, I can't even see the clock.
The 103, I believe.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
It's time for us to be done. So what boundary has been the hardest for you to hold as HR? And because then that also, I mean, patterns, but that also can be kind of on us, right? So if we think about some of these things as what's our organization, what's our business lens, partnering with people, right? Looking at that resource as kind of a let's look at this as what are we doing, how are we doing it, but let's come up with solutions on how we can do this even better, how we can support each other. Um, how could leaders support each other, right? Because some of you probably have some really good managers or supervisors who are doing it really well. What might they suggest? How could they mentor some of the others, right? So that we're really building our leadership capability. And I don't know what kind of training you already have in place or what you're doing or what the frequency is. But some of this could be ongoing kind of training or more frequent than what we're already doing to kind of help in some of that regards too. So truly, some of them will be eager to learn, and maybe some of them won't be as eager to learn, right? So I just truly HR there to support. We're just not there to do it. And and I think sometimes you can. And some of us have gotten roped into something and the answer is we're not there to replace the leadership. That's why they have jobs. Let's ensure that they keep their job and let's make sure that they're doing it well, right? I think we want everybody to succeed. And you don't need to get burned out. You don't need to get stressed out. So, you know, what's one responsibility you'll stop owning? Is there something you could give away? Baby steps. I know you'd like to get a lot of things away, but how about you just start with one and see how it goes? Because if you just give it all away at once, good on you. Go for it. But maybe other people will wonder what is happening, right? Um, but delegate slowly, evenly, consistently, and slowly. Let's see. It's April 1st. What can you accomplish in April and May? I don't know. I'd love to have some answers though. So I don't know if there's something here you can share with people, something you can start working on. I know that I will start working on getting that email out to you so you can have the list. Sounded like people might have liked that list. So truly, that's what I had for you today. And I'll stick around with any questions that you have. I will also let you know that next month I have a guest that's going to come and join us. Her name is Jean, Jean Hansen, and she is going to talk about the topic of caregiving at kind of all levels of caregiving. She's kind of an expert in the area and has some great resources that we can then share with our employees or how we might be having that conversation more inside our organization with our employees that are kind of going through that or needing that or doing that in their lives. Just kind of FYI. And unbeknownst to me, both my boss and I have been having these kind of conversations, and sometimes we're in sync. On June 11th, um, Lori, my boss, is actually doing a webinar on this topic, but not on this topic, kind of like where the headaches come from in this handoff of working in sync. And so different kind of perspective, different kind of more tools and such. Mine's much more casual in the conversation. She's actually doing something in June. So I thought I would just let you know. And I went looking for something in our system and then this popped up and I'm like, oh, so we're both talking about this. So we both must be hearing and seeing some trends with our clients and activity. So if that was at all of interest, please know that it'll go up a notch with one of her programs. So that's what I know. We can stick around and chat. Otherwise, I will stop the share and stop the official uh, sharing of the screen and we can chit chat. Otherwise, I'm glad that you were here, glad you were part of this. Let me know if you have questions, even post program. More than happy to assist in any way that I can. But I'm glad that you were part of our April Fool's edition of HR Lunch Bunch. So we'll call it a done deal for this one. And thank you so very much for participating. As always, I truly do appreciate it. And take care of yourselves. Have a good, fabulous month of April. All right, everybody, take care.
Bye, Deborah.
Thanks, Jackie.